Not long after a gunman held up a handful of Jewish worshipers in a Texas synagogue for hours while demanding the release of a Muslim terrorist from prison, Joe Biden's FBI announced the incident was not specifically related to the Jewish community. Even though the guy holding the gun was a Muslim, was demanding the release of a Muslim terrorist, and had chosen a synagogue full of Jewish people as the platform for his standoff with the police. We're to believe he just randomly picked that because, I don't know, it was closer than the Baptist church down the road? Funny how leftists see racism in the most arbitrary places, except the most obvious ones right in front of them. Roads are racist, but attacks on synagogues aren't. Every white dude with an AR and a pickup truck is a Nazi, but the Muslim who holds the gun to the Jew's head is just a mentally disturbed individual, and we shouldn't determine a motive right away. Or, maybe, racism according to the left is just a political football to be kicked whichever direction best suits their purpose at the time. And this one didn't. Malik Faisal Akram is now dead after being shot by an FBI team who breached the Congregation Beth Israel Synagogue in Colleyville and managed to free the victims, all of whom were thankfully unharmed. During the 11-hour-long standoff, Akram, whose name I probably butchered and don't really give a rip, was demanding the release of Afia Siddiqui, a terrorist who's been in Fort Worth's prison for the past 10 years for trying to kill a U.S. Army captain in Afghanistan. According to reports, Akram had traveled to New York from the UK just a few weeks ago, spent a little while in a homeless shelter, and had planned out the attack well in advance. 2 teens in England have now been arrested in connection with this incident. Details from that story are still developing. But Akram had mental health issues, and none of this had anything to do with Jews specifically. Or at least that's what we were told. FBI Special Agent in charge, Matt DeSarno, said on Saturday that they believed Akram was singularly focused on one issue, which was not specifically related to the Jewish community.
We do believe from our engagement with this subject that he was singularly focused on one issue, and it was not specifically related to the Jewish community, but we're continuing to work to find motive.
Now, after having finally figured out that 2 + 2 does in fact equal 4, the FBI has done an about-face and confirmed that this was in fact a terrorism-related incident in which the Jewish community was targeted, saying in a statement, and I quote, "This is a terrorism-related matter in which the Jewish community was targeted and is being investigated by the Joint Terrorism Task Force." Really? And while we're at it, water is wet and Nancy Pelosi's eyebrows are fake, if we're just stating obvious facts now. You're saying that a Muslim walked into a Jewish synagogue and took a bunch of people hostage for hours, and it might have been a targeted attack on the Jewish community? You don't say. Because here was Joe Biden totally stymied by why an Arab dude would hold up a bunch of Jewish folks in their place of worship on the Sabbath.
I don't think there is sufficient information to know about why he targeted that synagogue, why he insisted on the release of someone who's been in prison for over 10 years, why he was engaged, why he was using anti-Semitic and anti-Israeli comments. We just don't have enough facts.
Now look, I've been in the news industry long enough to know that you wait for information to come out before making snap judgments, especially in the case of mass shootings or hostage situations. Usually there's more to the story than can be posted on Twitter in the first 45 seconds. And you know what? There very well may be more about this insane and now dead dude than we peons out here in the public know at the moment. But I can also puzzle out that if something looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, chances are it's a freaking duck. And when a Muslim picks a synagogue as the stage for a standoff with law enforcement to demand that they release a convicted Muslim terrorist from federal prison, doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what's going on here. The guy didn't target a Walmart or a bowling alley or a Dick's Sporting Goods. He went after a synagogue on the Sabbath. That's pretty specific. You'd think that this would be obvious to a political party that sees racism in just about everything, who can't look at a rope pulley in a garage without seeing a noose, and who sees a card-carrying Nazi in every white person who doesn't vote their way. Leftists have screamed racism over everything from innocuous hand gestures to white people doing yoga, but we need to wait to figure out the motive of a radical jihadi who is making radical jihadi threats and demanding the release of a radical jihadi prisoner while holding up a synagogue on the Sabbath. Okay, what a ridiculous circus liberals put on. Everything is racist except the crazy Islamic terrorist with the gun targeting some innocent Jews. And at a time when the FBI's credibility is in the toilet, jumping on that particular little seesaw, probably not the smartest of all moves, guys. Unfortunately for the left, we're not so stupid that we can't figure out the obvious when it's right in front of our faces, whether they want us to or not. And that's your Reality Check, America. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube and Rumble pages, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there.